Ever wonder what happens when a seemingly ordinary middle-aged Scottish superstar walks onto the audition stage of Britain's Got Talent, belts out "I Dreamed a Dream" from Les Miserables, and makes the world collectively drop its jaw? Well, meet Susan Boyle, the woman who did just that in 2009. But before you start dreaming about your own rags-to-riches moment, let's dive into Susan's journey. And I'll tell you, it wasn't all bagpipes and shortbread. Her plans for the future might just include becoming the next Elaine Page. Okay, maybe not, but a girl can dream. Here's the extraordinary tale of Susan Boyle. Overcoming challenges. Susan Boyle grew up in Blackburn, West Lothian. Her father, Patrick Boyle, was a miner and a World War II veteran who also sang at the local pub called the Bishop's Blaze. Her mother, Bridget, worked as a shorthand typist. Both of her parents were originally from Motherwell, Lanarkshire, but they also had family connections to County Donegal in Ireland. Susan was born when her mother was 45 years old, making her the youngest of 9 children, with 4 brothers and 5 sisters. Growing up, Susan believed that she had suffered a brief deprivation of oxygen at birth, which was described as causing mild brain damage at the time. This led to some learning challenges for her, and she often became a target for bullies at school. Despite these difficulties, Susan described herself as a cheeky little girl who fought hard to find her own place among her many siblings. She shared in an interview with the Sunday Times that despite her learning difficulties and the hardships she faced during her childhood, she managed to carve out a space for herself and develop her own unique personality. In her words, "You had to fight your corner in a family the size of ours." After leaving school with only a few qualifications, Susan Boyle joined government training programs and performed at local venues to develop her skills and gain experience. Her family history hinted at her future success in singing. Her father, Patrick, was a singer, and Susan often joked with her mother about how her powerful lungs, responsible for her loud crying as a baby, were a sign of her vocal strength. Susan Boyle, the talented singer, took singing lessons from vocal coach Fred O'Neill to refine her skills. She attended the Edinburgh Acting School and participated in the Edinburgh Fringe, a well-known arts festival. In addition to these activities, Susan was deeply involved with her parish church, often joining pilgrimages to the Knock Shrine in County Mayo, Ireland, where she would sing at the Marian Basilica. In 1995, Susan auditioned for the talent show Michael Barrymore's My Kind of People. A few years later, in 1998, she recorded 3 tracks at Heartbeat Studio in Midlothian: Cry Me a River, Killing Me Softly, and Don't Cry for Me Argentina. To produce a professionally cut demo, she used all her savings and made copies to send to record companies, radio talent competitions, and local and national TV stations. This demo included her renditions of Cry Me a River and Killing Me Softly with His Song, which were uploaded to the internet after her audition on Britain's Got Talent. In 1999, Susan contributed a track to a charity CD produced at a school in West Lothian to celebrate the millennium. The CD, titled Music for a Millennium Celebration, Sounds of West Lothian, had only 1,000 copies pressed. An early review in the West Lothian Herald and Post praised her rendition of Cry Me a River, calling it heartbreaking, and noting it was on repeat in the reviewer's CD player. This recording also made its way to the internet following her televised appearance, further solidifying her status as a rising star. Encouraged by her mother's unending support, Susan began exploring her singing abilities just before her teenage years. She participated in school productions and sang with her church choir, discovering her talent early on. "The teachers said I had a talent, but I was too young to know," she shared with the Sunday Times in 2009. Despite this recognition, singing remained a hobby for Susan for much of her early life, something she enjoyed but didn't initially see as a path to a career. Despite winning several local singing competitions, Susan hesitated to pursue larger opportunities. Her mother encouraged her to audition for Britain's Got Talent, believing she had the potential to captivate a larger audience. However, Susan initially abandoned an audition for The X Factor because she felt the show focused too much on looks. She almost gave up on her plan to audition for BGT as well, thinking she was too old. Fortunately, her former coach, Fred O'Neill, persuaded her to go through with it. Susan was driven to honor her late mother with her musical career, and her performance on BGT was the first time she sang in public since her mother's passing. Her father passed away in the 1990s, and her 8 siblings had already moved out, leaving Susan as the only one living there. Susan has never married, dedicating much of her life to caring for her elderly mother until she passed away in 2007 at the age of 91. According to a neighbor, Susan was deeply affected by her mother's death, not leaving the house or answering the door or phone for 3 or 4 days afterward. Susan is a devout Roman Catholic and has been an active member of her church in Blackburn, where she sang in the choir. She remains involved in her church community, volunteering and visiting elderly members of the congregation in their homes. On a 2010 episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show, Susan described her daily life before she became famous as mundane and routine. She found comfort and purpose in her faith and her community, which played a huge role in her life both before and after her rise to stardom. Early attempts and setbacks. As earlier stated, nearly 20 years before her viral Britain's Got Talent audition, Susan Boyle tried to kickstart her singing career by auditioning for My Kind of People, a talent show on British television hosted by Michael Barrymore. Her mother encouraged her to audition, believing in her talent. However, Susan explained later that she was too nervous to succeed. "I was shaking so much I could hardly sing," she told the Sunday Times. This was quite different from the bold and confidently quirky performer that the world saw on Britain's Got Talent. She also said, "I got through it, but I never made it onto television. I just wasn't ready." Despite the setback, that moment in 2009 when we first saw Susan Boyle as a hopeful singer on Britain's Got Talent remains unforgettable. Her journey to the stage was not a straight path, but rather one filled with moments of self-doubt and perseverance. Her mother's encouragement played a great role, as did Susan's determination to keep trying despite her initial nervousness. When she finally appeared on Britain's Got Talent, Susan captivated the audience with her incredible voice and unique personality, proving that sometimes the right moment just takes time to arrive. When Susan Boyle first walked onto the stage of Britain's Got Talent, the judges were quick to smirk and the audience giggled, but those initial reactions soon turned to awe when she began to sing. As she stepped onto the stage, Susan, then 47 years old, joked that she was 47 years old and that it was only one side of her.
And how old are you, Susan?
I am 47. And that's just one side of me.
This drew some raised eyebrows from judges Piers Morgan and Simon Cowell. When she announced her dream of becoming the next Elaine Page, the crowd laughed, but Susan soon had the last laugh. The Scottish singer possessed an extraordinary mezzo-soprano voice.
Okay, and who would you like to be as successful as?
Elaine Page.
Elaine Page.
Rich in tone and brimming with passion. That day, she sang I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables, and her first few notes were enough to make every jaw drop. Her performance silenced the skeptics and left the judges and audience in utter amazement. Susan's stunning performance became a remarkable moment in showbiz history. She went on to become the runner-up in that year's Britain's Got Talent. Following the show, Susan's career took off with best-selling albums and world tours, allowing her to share her remarkable musical talent with people around the globe. A decade later, in January 2019, Susan Boyle competed on America's Got Talent, The Champions. The famously tough judge Simon Cowell expressed his admiration, saying,
"I can't think of any other contestant who has defined this show better than you, if I'm being honest with you. You're the one. You made a huge difference to a lot of people's lives, and I'm absolutely thrilled that you're here."
This heartfelt praise reflected the impact Susan had made since her initial appearance. Another remarkable moment from her performance on AGT, The Champions, was when she received the coveted Golden Buzzer, the highest honor in the series. This recognition showed her enduring talent and the continuous impression she continued to leave on audiences. But behind Susan Boyle's legendary I Dreamed a Dream performance on Britain's Got Talent, there was a story of perseverance and struggle. Before her breakthrough on BGT, Susan had faced numerous rejections. She revealed to Northern Life magazine, as reported by Express, that she had auditioned for 12 different competitions and even tried out for the X Factor. It was only after these experiences that someone suggested she audition for Britain's Got Talent. Susan Boyle shared that when she finally stood in front of the judges for her now famous audition, she was dealing with a significant personal loss. Her mother had passed away in 2007. In her words, she said, "At the time my mother had just died." She also said, "I would have loved her to have seen it, but I believe she was there spiritually to see what was going on. She was right beside me. I decided to just tough it out. It seems it was all meant to be," as Susan has since become a superstar. She recently released her latest album, 10, after a 4-year break. In early 2020, she remodeled the home she had shared with her mother, choosing to continue living there despite her fame. Reflecting on her original BGT audition outfit, she laughed. "Some people thought I looked like a doily in that dress, but no one is laughing at how far Susan Boyle has come now." Back in 2012, Susan told the Sunday Post that she had no plans to leave the home she grew up in. She said she has spent most of her life in this house and won't move now because she feels it's part of her history. True to her word, 8 years later, she still resides in the same house. Today, Susan Boyle continues to live in her family home, a 4-bedroom ex-council house in Blackburn, which she bought with her earnings in 2010. Breakthrough and rise to fame. Susan Boyle wowed audiences with her incredible performances as a contestant on Britain's Got Talent, singing some of musical theater's most iconic songs. She delivered stunning renditions of hits like Memory from Cats and gave a memorable revival performance of I Dreamed a Dream during the finale. Her powerful voice and emotional delivery made her an instant favorite among viewers. Throughout the competition, Susan was widely expected to win, especially when she faced off against the street dance troupe Diversity in the final round. Many believed she had the competition in the bag, as she had won the hearts of millions with her talent and story. However, you won't believe it, but Diversity took first place, and Susan ended up as the Season 3 runner-up.
The winner of Britain's Got Talent 2009 is Diversity!
After the intense whirlwind of the Britain's Got Talent competition, Susan Boyle took some time to address her exhaustion and mental health. She briefly became a patient at the Priory Clinic, a private psychiatric facility, to recuperate. According to The Guardian, Susan needed this time to recover from the sudden and overwhelming changes in her life. Her brother John explained, "Susan is exhausted. That's all there is to it. It's no surprise. She has gone from a small town in West Lothian to being famous around the world," he told The Telegraph shortly after the competition ended. Susan's rapid rise to fame had taken a toll on her, but she left the clinic after just 5 days, ready to rejoin her fellow former competitors. She participated in the Britain's Got Talent tour, which took her across the United Kingdom, giving her the chance to perform in front of adoring fans. This tour allowed Susan to share her extraordinary voice with audiences nationwide and keep her etched into the minds of her audience as a beloved performer. Susan Boyle's viral success captivated audiences across both the United Kingdom and the United States. Her 2009 debut album, I Dreamed a Dream, surpassed all expectations with its release. In its first week alone, the album sold an astounding 701,000 copies in the United States, outperforming releases from major artists like rapper Eminem and the legendary band U2. The New York Times reported that Susan's album achieved the highest first-week sales for a debut artist since Snoop Dogg's 1993 album, Doggy Style. Steve Barnett, the chairman of Columbia Records, explained the phenomenon in an interview with the New York Times. "The reason that this record really did what it did was that people wanted to get it and own it, to feel like they're a part of it," he said. Susan's album found a place in the hearts of its listeners, who felt a personal connection to her music and her story, turning her into a global sensation. The album's incredible sales showed not only her talent, but also the widespread admiration and support from fans who were inspired by her journey. According to Barnett, the album was cross-generational, as its success reached the hearts of different ages and genders. "I mean, selling such a number means you've basically sold to everybody." In the year following her viral audition and subsequent success on Britain's Got Talent, Susan Boyle achieved yet another remarkable milestone. According to The Mirror, she was named the 7th most influential person in the world. This was an extraordinary feat, especially considering she ranked more than 70 places higher than her former Britain's Got Talent judge, Simon Cowell, in the top 100 influential figures list. Susan's influence was recognized alongside some of the most prominent figures in various fields. She was listed among powerful artists like Lady Gaga, influential politicians such as Iran's Mir Hossein Mousavi, and celebrated athletes like South Korean figure skater Kim Yoon-ah. In an impressive plot twist, Susan even surpassed then-President Barack Obama, ranking 14 places higher than him on Time's list. Years later, when Susan Boyle was asked by the United Kingdom's The Press and Journal about her success, she shared how she managed to stay grounded despite her fame. Susan credited her wonderful team for helping her remain humble and focused. "The critics thought I was going to be a flash in the pan," she said, "but with a great team around me and a brilliant record label, I am still going." Her supportive network was the most important stepping stone in her continued pursuit of success. Susan also expressed her gratitude and amazement at how far she had come. She stated that sometimes she'd have to pinch herself to believe that this was all real. Her journey from a small-town woman to an international star was beyond anything she had ever imagined. Few stars can claim their debut album received a Grammy nomination for Best Pop Vocal Album, but Susan Boyle can. As earlier mentioned, after her impressive run on Britain's Got Talent, Susan released her first album, which not only achieved astounding sales but also earned her a prestigious Grammy nomination, as noted by the Los Angeles Times. Susan's album featured a collection of powerful songs including Wild Horses, Amazing Grace, and Cry Me a River. These show-stopping hits gave an outstanding view of her incredible vocal talent and enticed listeners around the world. The album's success was remarkable, especially considering it competed against projects from seasoned music industry professionals like Lady Gaga, John Mayer, Katy Perry, and even Justin Bieber. When Susan Boyle's nomination for the 53rd Grammy Awards was announced, she was overjoyed. Speaking to the Sunday Times, Susan expressed her excitement and humility. "Up against wonderful artists like Lady Gaga and Katy Perry, I don't expect to win for a moment," she said, but she was more than happy to be recognized like this with a nomination on just her first album. Although the award for Best Pop Vocal Album ultimately went to Lady Gaga for her album The Fame Monster, the loss didn't deter Susan Boyle in the slightest. She remained positive and grateful for the recognition her work had received. Despite not winning, being nominated alongside such renowned artists was more than enough and an incredible honor for her. Life-changing diagnosis and achievements. Throughout her adult life, Susan Boyle believed that some of her behaviors were due to the mild brain damage she was reportedly diagnosed with at birth. However, this understanding soon took a dramatic turn when she was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. This new diagnosis provided much-needed clarity, helping explain her emotional outbursts and acute anxiety. In an interview with The Scotsman in 2013, Susan opened up about this revelation. "It was the wrong diagnosis when I was a kid," she shared. "I was told I had brain damage. I always knew it was an unfair label. Now I have a clearer understanding of what's wrong, and I feel relieved and a bit more relaxed about myself." Understanding that her behavior stemmed from Asperger's rather than brain damage allowed her to approach her life with a new perspective. She could now address her emotional outbursts and acute anxiety with appropriate strategies and support. Susan Boyle's public discussion about her condition brought renewed attention to Asperger's syndrome in the United Kingdom. Robert McBean, the campaigns and policy officer for the National Autistic Society Scotland, noted that Susan's revelation had significantly shifted the conversation about autism. By revealing her diagnosis, Susan Boyle is helping to highlight that there are older people with autism in all our communities who need our support and care, McBean said. Susan emphasized that her diagnosis didn't change who she was, but provided her with a much better understanding of herself. She had already come a long way in her journey, and there was no turning back now. Instead, she embraced this new clarity and continued to forge ahead with determination. Now, let's talk about Susan's achievements. Her being open about her diagnosis not only brought awareness, but also inspired many who might be facing similar challenges. She showed that it's never too late to look for answers, and that understanding oneself is a powerful tool for personal growth. The United Kingdom was first introduced to Susan Boyle on their television and computer screens, and in 2009 they had the opportunity to see her perform live during the Britain's Got Talent tour. However, it wasn't until 2013 that Boyle embarked on a tour as the headlining act, a decision that proved to be long overdue. Her debut tour, consisting of 7 shows across the United Kingdom, resulted in record-breaking ticket sales, with most venues nearly selling out during the pre-sales. According to The Scotsman, within just a few hours, about 98% of the tickets had been snapped up by eager concert-goers. Tour organizers reported that just a handful of tickets were still available for Boyle's concerts in Glasgow and Edinburgh, and warned that these remaining tickets would likely be sold out within a few hours. A spokeswoman for Susan Boyle expressed to The Scotsman that the acclaimed singer, who had risen to fame 4 years earlier, was eagerly anticipating her inaugural solo tour. According to the spokeswoman, this tour is her way of showing appreciation to the Scottish public for their support since Britain's Got Talent. By 2015, Susan Boyle had amassed an impressive array of achievements: a debut album that sold rapidly, 2 Grammy nominations, and millions of albums sold worldwide, among others. And soon after, Boyle achieved yet another milestone. She was awarded an honorary doctorate for excellence in music from the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, as reported by BBC News. The Performing Arts School honored Susan Boyle, former star of Britain's Got Talent, with one of its prestigious doctorates during a formal ceremony in June 2015. This recognition placed her among esteemed recipients of honorary degrees from the school, including singer Annie Lennox and actress Tilda Swinton. "I'm absolutely on top of the world," Susan Boyle shared with BBC News shortly after receiving the degree. "I'm very humbled, very privileged." Prior to this recognition, Boyle had already established a presence at the Royal Conservatoire, where she had professional ties with Andrew Panton, the school's artistic director of musical theater. Following her breakout on Britain's Got Talent, Susan Boyle continued to perform and released several successful studio albums, solidifying her status as a global sensation. However, in 2018, she found a sense of redemption in her talent show journey when she was invited to compete once more on America's Got Talent: The Champions. This international competition features top acts from the global Got Talent franchise, including winners, fan favorites, and standout talents. Despite the daring competition, Boyle approached the Champions stage with newfound confidence. She explained to Forbes that in 2009, she had everything to prove. She really wanted a singing career, so the pressure she put on herself to achieve that dream was great. This time around, it was different. She already had a wonderful career and traveled the world performing, so she approached this as something fun and a personal challenge. Susan Boyle made a memorable entrance onto the America's Got Talent: The Champions stage in January 2019, receiving a standing ovation from the audience and all 4 judges before she even sang a note. Her rendition of Wild Horses was so powerful that Judge Mel B awarded her the Golden Buzzer, sending the crowd favorite straight to the finals. Despite her charm and flawless voice, Boyle did not ultimately win the competition, losing out to close-up magician Shin Lim. Boyle admitted shortly after the show that she was disappointed, but she never thought she'd win. However, she still secretly held on to hope that she just might have won, because that's what drives her to give it her best. Even though she didn't emerge as the final winner, Boyle remained optimistic about her future in the industry. She told Forbes that Champions is just the beginning of an exciting year ahead, and that she'll be traveling more and performing more, and there were even discussions about a US tour later in 2023. 2023, and Boyle is very ready for whatever comes. Years after her audition won audiences worldwide, Susan Boyle continues to enchant Scotland, England, and fans across the globe. During the March leg of her 2020 tour, she revisited the SEC Armadillo Theatre in Glasgow, a venue that holds special memories in her singing career. It was here where she first wowed judges and viewers alike during her Britain's Got Talent audition in 2009. Speaking at a photo call, Boyle expressed her anticipation for performing at the SEC Armadillo. Remember how it all began for the superstar when she stood before the judges, sashaying with an awful frock and that crazy haircut? Boyle was very excited to be back to where it all began 11 years ago. Enjoyed the video? Crave more excitement? Stay tuned by clicking on any of the cards on your screen right now for more thrilling content. See you next time.